Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs. Welcome to another edition of Long Island Backstory, where we shoot at the Cablevision Studios here in Hauppauge, New York, on lovely Long Island. My next guest is Andrew Herzman, author of the book, The Concept of Atheism. Very interesting topic, and very interesting guest that we have here. And I was reading the book, and I learned a lot about it. It's funny, because atheism is one of these things that it's almost like taboo. People say, don't talk about politics and religion, or you're going to start a fight with people. Well, even one step beyond that is don't talk about it if you're an atheist, because as our guest will tell you, you can really lose some friends, and people just think that atheists are crazy people, and there's a lot of myths about atheism out there. But I will say that I do know our next guest, Andy, very well, and from personal experience, Andy's a great guy. He's a great productive member of society. He does volunteer work. He's just an all-around great person. And when we talked about doing the show, and because I read his book and I said, this is interesting, let's talk about it. And he said, look, Gary, I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind, although I just want to let people understand what it's like to be an atheist. So Andy, welcome to the program. So let's start off. I mean, this is a thing. How does one become an atheist? Because you said I read the book and you were brought up in the Catholic religion. You went to church. You recited the prayers. So
right.
To me, that's all you know. So how do you you wake up one day and say, I don't believe it? How does this happen?
No, it doesn't happen overnight. But, well, to be honest, though, atheism is the default position. In other words, we're all really born without any beliefs in the beginning. And that's what atheism is. It's a non-belief. And people don't understand that. They think it's a religion, or they think it's devil worship.
It's a movement.
Yeah. They think it's all kinds of things. And really, all it is a response to the question: is there a God or not? That's the only thing. It doesn't have anything to do with science. Doesn't have anything to do with religion. It has really nothing. It's just a non-belief. Right. So the way I got into it, I mean, I was brought into the religion, as most people were, but I remember maybe I was 5 or 6 years old. They'd bring me to church, and I was all, wow, this place is amazing, and you got the stained glass and the music, and and everyone's telling you how holy everything is, and and it makes a big impression on you when you're a kid, but to me it was sort of like Santa Claus, I mean, by the time
Did you believe in Santa Claus when you were 5?
Sure, okay. Same thing, but you grow out of it, it's like you start to realize it's just nonsense, Right.
So was it like any particular time where you just scratched your head and said, you know what, I don't believe it, or is it a slowly evolving?
Well, it's funny because I really never thought about it too much. I knew religion was out there and people talk about it once in a while. And I never was a hard atheist where I would just blow it off when people talked about it. And that's really why I wrote the book, though, because at one point, like you said, a friend of mine from high school, we were good friends, and all of a sudden one day, I don't even know how it came up in conversation. I just mentioned something like, I think he mentioned something about the Bible, and I kind of blew it off like I normally do. And he looked at me like, well, you don't believe in it, And I'm like, no, not really, and he looked at me in horror, like I had 3 heads or something, and I never talked to him since. It was horrible. Oh, and when that happened, I went, wow, there's got to be something to this. Why do people react that way, And that's why I kind of got into it more, and I tried to do some research about, because I didn't know much about religion at all, or atheism, and I wanted to know why do people react that way, And it's sad because I never lose friends over people about what they believe, It's just a belief. Everybody has
or a non-belief.
Yeah, or non-belief, But it's people don't understand what it is, And that's what really is. The ignorance, I think, is the biggest problem, because they look at people and they don't know what to think. Who's that guy? Steve Harvey. Mm-hmm. He did an interview on CNN, I think it was, or whatever, and he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know what to think about him. I just walk away, Yeah. And so many people, they hear the word atheist and they got. I don't know what they think. I really don't. Some of them think I'm a devil worshiper. Right. Some of them think, oh, you can't have any morals. You must be a terrible person. All this terrible connotations.
Well, let's go to the morals, because I think that for me, a lot of what I learned and my morals, I learned in the temple and through my religion. So if you don't have that, you know, I mean, I guess you could say it's innate. It's certainly not good to kill people.
Right,
but things as far as in Judaism, we learn about how important it is to give charity and to help people.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't have that religious background, I don't know, where do you get the
what is your
moral code from?
Right. Well, that's a very good question, because as a matter of fact, just a few days ago I was having a debate. I was invited to a church in Holbrook, and they wanted to know about atheism, which was I was really happy to be there, because someone took an interest and wanted to really understand it. And that was one of the questions. You know, they said, how is it possible that you have morals? Right. Now, if you think about it, we really don't get morals from a book, all right? I mean, what we really get it from is our empathy towards each other. You know, I mean, we have that golden rule, which is already, it's been around even before Christianity, you know, treat others the way you want to be treated. Right. And, you know, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I'm not going to go punch you because I don't want to be punched, right? Right. So it's moral not to punch people.
Right.
However, you know, morality also isn't something that's set in stone, because if you take two boxers and put them in a boxing match, now punching each other, all of a sudden it's moral, right? So, you know, morality is something where it helps society survive, because in a way, it's the empathy that we have towards each other is the way we get along with each other, the way we make rules, the way we make laws. You know,
but there's no book.
No,
there's no book of atheism that says this is just the way, as just a human being, this is the way we act. Sort of what we go by is the Bible.
Right. So well, that's what they say.
Right. So, but this is nothing. You know, I mean, I guess most of the stuff in there is good. You know, the Ten Commandments, right? That's a good part.
If you look at the Ten Commandments, it's funny you say that, because there's only maybe 3 or 4 that are really good. You know, don't kill, don't steal. Right. I mean, the first 3 are just don't worship another god. You know, and it's, come on. You know, so that has nothing to do with morality, really. But the real morality is empathy towards each other. And if we don't have empathy, you know, and that's, I think, another reason why terrible things happen in the world, is because of the lack of empathy. Right. Like, you said we get the morals from the Bible or whatever, but, you know, slavery is endorsed in the Bible. And slavery, we now know, I mean, we could all pretty much agree that owning another human being is not a moral thing. Right. But it is specifically endorsed in the Bible. And, you know, people try to sugarcoat it and say it was different times and all this, but it explicitly says, you know, how to treat your slave, what you can do, where you can buy them. It's, you know, it really does endorse slavery, even in the New Testament. Right. You know, it doesn't even, and there's no 10th commandment that says thou shalt not own another human being. Right. So to try to get morality from a book, to me, is like, no, it doesn't work that way. You know, we really have to do it on a case-by-case basis, and have, you know, use empathy, use common sense, and, you know, and we all know, I mean, yeah, murder's wrong, stealing's wrong. It's only because we don't want to be murdered, we don't want to be stolen from. It's really that simple.
I just want to go back to a minute, when you were in church, because I'm sort of like fascinated how this comes out, that, you know, as somebody young, I can see, like, as an adult, you see things happening. To me, if I speak to somebody, and I know a few atheists of I guess different, I guess say they're Catholic and Jewish, of different religions that now say that they're atheists, and I could see, like, if you lose a child, and then somebody says, you know, how could there be a God? If there was a God, how could he let this happen to my child, and let people die of cancer, and, you know, the Holocaust and all the death and suffering now.
Horrible.
If there's a God. So I could see how some people, as they get older, but for you as a young person to realize it, like, do you have, like, a coming out problem? Do you tell your parents, and do they get devastated?
Well, they
think that you're going to hell? I don't know.
Well, that happens to a lot of people, and that's another problem in this country, because especially in this, you know, in the Bible Belt, where it's a very big issue, some 12, 13-year-olds get thrown out of their house for admitting they don't believe in God, you know, and what a horrible thing to do to a poor child, just because, you know, I mean, that's supposed to be all loving. That's, you know, this whole religion thing is supposed to be about love, right? And here they are, you know, doing the exact opposite.
So in your case, how did this come out? To people? I mean, were your parents upset?
Well, it's funny because my father died when I was really young, so I don't think he knew much, either way.
Do you think that influenced the way you feel?
I don't think so. Even though he died on Christmas Eve, which kind of ruined Christmas for me anyway.
Forever.
But yeah, so that
Right.
kind of screwed things up. But
Right.
I don't really equate that with my belief in because, with my mother, she lived through World War II, and the horrific things that went on through there, and I talked to her once about religion. I never seen her go to church, and she just said that it's the church thing is it's just all smoke and mirrors. They got the music, they got the smoke and the holy water and all this impressive stuff. And basically, she said it's like as long as you believe in a higher power. That's all she told me.
Okay.
So
Which you don't, though.
no, I don't. Well, what's a higher power? My computer's a higher power, right? It can think better than me, right? It's such a weird thing because people have these deep beliefs. They were indoctrinated into it, and some people even call it child abuse because you're threatening these little children with hell, right. and they're terrified, and it kind of does something to them where they're terrified to not believe. And it's one of those things where I look at it and there's so many contradictions in the Bible, and there's so many and there's so many when I started learning about science and evolution and everything, and I'm like, and it's just amazing how all the pieces fit towards not there being a God, and like you said, the Holocaust. I mean, I just read somewhere that in the museum where one of the camps, it's written there that one of the people that were imprisoned there wrote that if there is a God, I want to get it right. The quote was, "If there is a God, he owes me an apology or something like that." And it's. I mean,
in religion we have an answer. We say, "Listen, that's not up to us; it's up to God, and maybe we're going to a better place." Which,
right.
Listen, I hope it's right. But what do you say? The saying, "There's no atheists in foxholes."
Well, that I find it very offensive, actually, because there are lots of atheists in the military, and
but if you're sitting there getting fired at, you say, "You know what? I'm not sure if there's a God, but if there is one."
Well, actually, it's the exact opposite, because think about it. If you had faith in God, you wouldn't be in the foxhole. You'd be out there, hey, God's going to protect me.
Believe that you're here on this earth for a purpose, and you'll go to a better place.
Well, I mean, I think everybody's here for a purpose, and we all have our own reasons, our own purpose. Right. I mean, everybody has a passion for something that they're good at, and they know that this is what they, are meant to do. And that's fine.
But who's meaning? Who meant for them to do it?
No, it's your own. It's within
within
yourself.
It's
sure,
like an evolutionary thing that we're born with.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fine. I mean, I think everybody's different, which is a great thing. We have different races, different kinds of personalities.
When you talk about race, I think it's funny because you're the most is there unracist a word? I don't know. But you're like the most unracist, and to me, you treat everybody the same. And I wonder if that's because of your atheist.
Well, I'm a humanist also. Okay, atheism
Which is what?
A humanist is somebody who really cares about the human race itself. There is no other. You don't separate people into different categories. I mean, when I learned about evolution and I realized, race is just a skin color, like eye color or hair color, or we make such a big deal about these just because someone has a darker skin, and it's really nothing. It's so minute in the DNA. It's meaningless, really. It's just as meaningless as somebody's eye color, and we don't make a big deal about that. So it just blows my mind how humans take little tiny things and they make giant crazy things out of it, and like religion and eye color, and it's crazy. It's we really, there's so many things that we should be worrying about, in this world, that I mean, our survival is at stake here, and we're worried about somebody's skin color or something, it's silly, Now,
let me ask you one of and let me know how you feel about this. One I think, and I'm not to bring it down to something so different than something as big as religion, but the way I think about global warming is we're all fighting about global warming.
Right.
And I say, why are we fighting over it? If there is such thing as global warming, then we should make the environment better. If there's no such thing, there's no harm to making the environment better. We all breathe better, and it's so why fight about it And you know
Right.
what? If you're wrong, the consequences are pretty damn big.
yeah, well,
Right? So if you're right, to me, why argue about it?
Yeah.
So I think about with God. Let's say we believe in God. What's the downside? If we're wrong, all right, so you were a good person, you believed in God, you felt good about it.
Right.
If you're wrong, though, man, you're screwed.
Well, I don't know if you know this. That's called Pascal's Wager. I don't know if you ever heard of that. There was a French guy named Pascal. He did. He's a mathematician, but he also is famous for making that wager where he says, "I got nothing to lose,
Right.
but I got everything to gain." But the problem with that wager is it only assumes two things: whether you believe in the Christian God or you don't. Now, there's other religions out there, right? What if are the Muslims right? If they are, now you're screwed, right? Because you're going to go to their hell.
Right.
So and plus, it's just nonsense. If you're afraid of going to hell and that's the reason why you believe, then an almighty God's going to know that.
You could not be not afraid of going to hell, but it could be I want to go to heaven. And there are some religions who believe unless you accept God, then you're not going.
Right, but if the only reason why you're believing is because you want that reward,
You think it's selfish?
absolutely, that's the most selfish thing in the world. Right. Think about it. You want eternal life. There's nothing more, selfish than that.
So, do you think there's a downside though to? It's not for you.
Yeah.
But do you think is there a downside to me being a religious person and believing in God and going to temple or a producer or a cameraman Don going to church? Is there a downside to this?
Well, you know what?
Don't try to talk anybody out of it.
No, I don't. But the thing is, I did some more research on this, and there are a lot of things. I mean, I don't mind people. Like if you believe something, I believe in the Constitution, and I will defend your right to believe whatever you want. There should be no such thing as thought police. Right. But saying that, there are consequences to religion, and there's a long list of them. And I don't know if we have time.
Give me an example.
Well, first of all, it holds back science, and science is a very important thing. I mean, we've gone so far in the past 200-300 years with science. We've come from primitive beings to going to the moon. I mean, it's amazing what science has done for us. We doubled our lifespan with science. We have vaccines, we have technology, we have, and if you hold that back, I mean, you're holding back everything that humans are able of accomplishing. So that's one big thing, And when people, that's what bothers me, when people they say, oh, evolution is not a fact, and they deny evolution, and and the only reason why they do that is because it conflicts with the Adam and Eve story.
Right.
And the problem is, even if evolution was 100% wrong, that still wouldn't prove there was a God. Right. So there's no reason really to fight against evolution. It's a fact.
But you have stuff to look at and say, man, this is just amazing that.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
how
does it start? How do you believe it started?
Well,
you don't believe Adam and Eve. How do you believe this?
Well, I don't see. That's the thing. Everyone says, "Oh, science is your religion." It's not, because science goes with evidence. Okay, that's the way it works. The scientific method is all about evidence, and it's constantly being changed because we get better evidence and we get better ways of examining the evidence. But if you look at evolution, the fact that we can take any two species, and using DNA, we can actually go back and find that common ancestor. I mean, that's.
It has to start from something. So
that's not.
Do you have a belief? Or
no,
we just haven't figured it out yet.
Well, that's it. I mean, scientists are honest people. When they don't have an answer, they say, "I don't know," and that's honest, And I think that's a much better answer than saying, "Oh, well, this book tells me," and that's exactly how it has to be, and you have a closed mind to anything else, and. I mean, that's just it makes you really a closed-minded person, and makes you to the point where it kind of clouds your mind the way you think. You don't have that critical thinking anymore.
I sort of feel bad. You lost your holidays. People
I
like Hanukkah. What happened to your holidays?
No, you know what? Every day is a holiday because I think every day is precious. Every day that we're alive is precious, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, Christmas. I love Christmas. I love the Jewish holiday. I'll celebrate them too. My sister married a Jew, and we celebrate all those, and I love it. I mean, holidays, anytime you can get together with friends, doesn't matter what day it is, even if you have a party for nothing, and hang out. it's a precious time.
So you're not offended if somebody doesn't know and they say, "Oh, Andy, Merry Christmas."
No, that's great, you know. But the problem the Christians have is the exact opposite. When someone says Happy Holidays, they get all bent out of shape. Right. Oh, there's a war on Christmas. But when someone says Happy Holidays, all they're trying to do is be nice to everybody, right? You know, like Christians come to me all the time. They go, "Oh, we'll pray for you." I'm not offended. You know, it's like it's well meant. I understand what they're saying. You know, it doesn't correspond to what I believe, but you know, they're not saying it to be mean. They're saying it, you know, because of what they believe.
So do you think people who believe in religion or believe in a God, do you think that they're like, that they're not that smart, that they don't realize it? You know, because I see
no. There's scientists who also believe it.
What I was getting at is I did a little bit of research. And
sure.
There's some really smart people.
Oh yeah, but they're
scientists,
right? But
who are religious. How do you explain that?
Right. See, they're
smarter than me. Maybe they're smarter than you. Some of these.
Oh,
guys.
absolutely.
So
There's no doubt.
How do you explain that they believe in?
Well, even
God?
well, they're able somehow to compartmentalize that little piece of information. Like they'll use critical thinking for everything else in their life except for that one belief. Right. And they'll compartmentalize that into as part of their brains and seal it off, and that's just that's what they'll do. And it's so strange, you know, because you know, you look at it and you go, you would never use faith. You know, like if you go to a car dealership and the guy says, "Hey, you know, I got a 10-year-old car and it has 100 miles on it," you know, right. Would you just believe it on faith? No, you would ask questions. You would be a skeptic about it, and that's really skepticism is the exact opposite of using faith. So faith is just believing something without evidence. And it's the worst thing anybody could do because it's gullible.
But there's some things, the way I look at it, there's some things that you can't see, right? I mean, there are
sure.
things in the world you can't see.
Sure.
Like, I love my children.
Sure.
Right? So I love them. I mean,
right.
I know that I love them. I feel it.
Right.
You believe that I love my children.
Oh, well,
but I can't see it. So what is love? I can't see it.
But you can prove it. Because you could treat them the way someone loves somebody. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure you'd do anything to save them, right? I mean, that's proof right there that you love them. I mean, you don't give up your
love. You can't, it's still something that's sort
of... No, well, it's an emotion.
It's out there.
It's an emotion.
But
just like
a feeling, too, though, because you
sure.
feel it in your
sure,
body.
Like when I listen to beautiful music, you know, I mean, I get that feeling. Right. You know, we all have that, and that's one of the reasons why I think people believe in this stuff, because, you know, they get these feelings, right. And, you know, it's emotional. And you're human, you know, we're all human, we have these emotions, and we let that, you know, kind of steer us towards this. We can't explain it, so we have to have some kind of, you know, everybody wants an answer, right? So they go to, oh, it has to be God.
Well, we also think we want to believe that there's more. I think it helps us with grieving. To me,
sure,
like,
sure.
You know, when somebody passes away in your family, the religious, everybody has a thing. You know, Jewish people, we have shivas, and we we have different things that we do. And Catholic people, they have the wake, and that helps through the grieving process.
Yeah.
But not having a religion, to me, how do you learn to cope? I mean, that helps us cope with death.
If you really, you know, look at reality and have to deal with it, it makes life a lot more precious. Because if you're just waiting for an afterlife that's eternal, you know, that kind of waters down the life that you have now.
So when somebody passes away in your family, would you just be like, "Hey, done"? No,
well,
no use burying them. That's
well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, you know, you have the memories, right? And that's what's the most important thing. You know, you could look back and look at their life and say, "Yeah, I remember when we did this," and we remember, you know. And as long as you have their memories, they're part of you.
So what should we do with the person?
You know, food for maggots. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. You know, it's sad because, you know, people. It's a horrible thought, and we don't. And that's why people look for comfort. You know, but think about it. Comfort doesn't make things real, you know, and that's why people drink alcohol. That's why people take drugs. Is because they want to distort reality and they want to feel good, right? So that's the same thing with religion. They want to distort reality. They don't want to think about the real things that could happen, and it makes them feel good. And I mean, fine.
That's a good thing if it makes you feel good, though, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, certain things make you feel good, but you know, why do we outlaw drugs when they make you feel good? You know, so there's got to be a reason for.
So is there a sliver in your mind that says, hey, there's a possibility?
Oh, of course.
Is there any?
Of course.
So you still like? I mean, you're human. So do you ever like second guess yourself and go, you know what? Maybe.
Well, if you want to have an open mind, you can never say there's no God. Right. If you want to, you got to be open to it. But the problem is the proof. You know, the burden of proof is on the person who makes the claim. So I don't claim there's no God.
Right.
I just reject the claim that other people make that there is a God. And if they can't provide the evidence because they have the burden of proof, then I don't have a reason to believe it.
So is there anything that would change? Could you think of anything that would change your mind? Like if you saw something.
People ask me that.
This room, right? Is it like what would happen that I don't know? If you said you go home tonight and you say, I hope I win the lottery, and then you become a million.
Well, it happens all the time, though, right? People win the lotto all the time,
so
but that doesn't prove it either.
What could prove it for you?
Well, I thought about it, and to be honest, if there really was a God, that God would know what it would take for me to believe in it, right? And if that God wants me to believe, then they have the power to do whatever it takes to make me believe, right? And I'm told all the time, oh, God wants you to go to heaven. God wants, he doesn't, he wants, and I go, well, where's the evidence?
Send me a message.
Right, and then
so if you walk out here tonight out of the studio in Hopog and you get hit by lightning,
now that's
man, I never should have said that on Gary's show.
But that still wouldn't prove it to me. Because that's scientifically proven how lightning works. I know how that works.
Yeah, but the odds wouldn't be good that would happen.
Well, you know what? Odds aren't good that you win lotto. And people do it. Right. That doesn't mean there's a God. So, even though things are rare occurring, doesn't mean it's a miracle. Doesn't mean it's a God. It just things are rare sometimes.
Do you feel like because we're starting to running out of time? But I'm really curious in the subject, and you speak well about it.
Yeah.
But being in a religion, you're sort of part of a group and part of another community.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Sort of like you. But is there an atheist culture or community? Are you part of the atheist group?
Well, see, again, atheism is not a religion, so we don't have dogma, we don't have a holy book, we don't have a figure we can worship.
Right, you don't have a place of non-worship?
No, you know what? I mean,
you're not part of a group. I feel
but that's
feel bad for you.
But we can.
Like you're not part of
there's a million clubs out there. There's science clubs and music clubs, and there's so many things you can be part of. It doesn't, and I have nothing against people getting together and singing gospel music or whatever. It's fine. It's that doesn't hurt anybody. But when it starts to hurt things is, like I said, when you hold back science, or if you're making laws based on religious dogma, right, and that we all have to follow. The biggest problem I have is I don't want this country to become a theocracy, and people like Huckabee and all them, they really do want a theocracy, and that if you look at Iran and other countries that have theocracies, it doesn't work out too well.
That's why we want the separation of church and state, because I certainly it could be a Muslim tomorrow and they want Sharia law,
right.
Whatever it is. So we definitely.
So that's the one thing I fight for, because
I agree with that.
And the problem I have is if we don't fight for that, we already have in God we trust on our money, right, and that's already a very close.
Does that bother you when they
absolutely.
Okay.
Because
what about singing the Pledge of Allegiance? Do you not put your hand over?
Well, I love the pledge, but I don't want the under God, because again, that's the separation of church and state. And there are people like me who don't believe in God, so why should they force it on me through the pledge that I have to take?
So if you ever go to court, which I hope you don't, but I think
it's already happened.
You did have to go.
It's already happened where I've said, no, I'm sorry, I can't swear under, to God, and they said, okay, you can affirm. And it was which is nice,
right.
But there in 8 different states, it still says in their constitutions that atheists are not allowed to hold public office. Wow. So there's a lot of stigma still against atheists that people don't realize. We really have an uphill battle. A lot of people are still in the closet.
I don't know if it's called proselytizing, but you don't seem to go out. I've never heard you try to convert everybody to atheism.
Well, you can't do that. It's impossible.
Well, you could argue, you could debate and try to say, hey, you're wrong. But atheists don't do that. You sort of seem to me like, hey, live and let live. You want to believe it, just leave me alone. Don't force it.
Right, but when it comes to the point where someone wants to start a theocracy, they want to make rules, like the blue laws. They want to make laws that we all have to follow based on the Bible. That's where I draw the line. I can't have that. I'm sorry. The country. They say, oh, it's a Christian nation. It really isn't. This was the first secular nation that ever existed, and I'm proud of that. I think that's what makes America special, and that's the reason why anybody can believe whatever they want. They have 41,000 different sects of Christianity, never mind all the other religions, and we all live in this country and believe what we want, and we have the freedom to do that, and I want to stand up for that.
Andy, thanks for being with us today and spending the time. I'm Gary Jacobs. Thank you for joining us here at Long Island Backstory on Channel 20 on Cablevision here on Long Island. We'll see you next week.